better daily, where we work hard in our minds, bodies, and our spirits to become 1% better every single day. Download the app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live to catch the video version of these podcasts. Here's your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What is up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Happy Tuesday. It's Nutrition Tip Tuesday, and I'm excited to talk about something nutrition related to help you on your 1% better journey. Good morning, KT. Thanks for joining me this morning. Now, normally on Nutrition Tip Tuesday, I talk about what we're eating, but today's Nutrition Tip Tuesday, I'm going to talk about what's eating you. So let's dive into that thought. Now, there's something really interesting, and we're going to talk about this tonight in the weight loss seminar. So if you want to join us live for the weight loss seminar, it's going to be at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time right here. And our premium members here in Better Daily can actually catch that recording as well. And if you're catching this shortcast in its published form 8 weeks after, 8 weeks after, that's such a long time, you should join Better Daily and come in and see what happens live. But if you're catching the publication, you can actually go find that link for the replay for the seminar in the show notes below. What's up, Scott? Good to see you this morning. Hey, Pat. Good to see you this morning as well. So let's talk about what's eating you. Here's a really interesting thing in the nutrition world, right? So people ask me all the time, like, how much of my weight loss is contingent on my nutrition? We'll talk about that tonight. And there's this number floating around in the research that like 80% of weight loss is about the nutrition and 20% of the weight loss is about exercise. Tonight I'm going to make a case that it's 50-50 for different reasons, but we'll get into that tonight. But there's this really interesting thing that's never addressed in the literature around nutrition, because in the literature around nutrition, it's like, hey, if you eat more protein, you might lose some weight. Hey, if you do like fasting windows, you might lose some weight. Hey, there's a bunch of different supplements you could be taking to help you with insulin resistance, right? But we never talk about why we're eating what we're eating, and we're never talking about the things we are doing in our body that changes the way our body responds to food. I'll give you an example. So I published an episode of Defining Dad Bod about 1.5 years ago where I talked about emotional eating. And I said 5 tips to help you with your emotional eating. And I talked about the idea that I've worked with a lot of clients who, if they're angry, they eat. If they're sad, they eat. If they're bored, they eat. In a weird way, the eating that they're doing, not necessarily the food choices they're making, but the eating that they're doing has very little to do with actual hunger, actually trying to provide the body with some nutrients in order to help it build itself well, or to give you fuel for your workouts, or to help you recover from your long day. Very few of the meals that they're eating in a week has to do with that. It has a lot more to do with reaction and feeling good, right? When we consume foods, we get dopamine and serotonin, which feel really good. They feel nice. It helps you feel better. And so when you're angry, having a piece of cake feels nice. Kind of reduces that feeling of anger. When you're feeling down and depressed, having an energy drink or something with a bunch of sugar in it kind of picks you up a little bit. And so one of the things that I spoke about in that episode was how often we use food to regulate our mood. And well, that's not good, because if what's eating you is a negative emotion, and the only way you have to deal with that right now is food or drinks, that's not good. We don't want that, because it doesn't really matter what you do from a nutrition perspective if you know what your macros need to be, or if you know that you should be consuming more protein at your meals, or if you know that you shouldn't be eating very large amounts of sweets after 8 p.m. None of that knowledge is helpful to you if what's eating at you is negative emotions that you don't have an outlet for. So in that episode, I kind of walk through some things that might be helpful for regulating emotions. If you're bored, it's okay to be bored sometimes. Now, I'm a dad who runs a business and has 2 kids and a lovely wife, and I'm here in Arkansas. We don't get bored around here. In fact, I could use a little more boredom. That would be cool, but we don't have boredom here. So I can't relate to that, but I know that some individuals can relate to that. I don't know what else to be doing right now, so I guess I'll go eat something. Or I had a client tell me recently, I found myself in the break room around the donuts. I was about to eat a donut. I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't even need this donut. I'm just bored. Like I have 15 minutes here and I don't know what to do with it. So in that episode, I talked through that. If what's eating you is negative emotions, then what you need to do, rather than trying to hunker down on some magical diet that's going to fix you, instead what you need to do is develop some positive coping mechanisms for negative emotions. Meaning, and coping, I actually kind of hate that word coping. That's what the psychological literature uses. Coping makes it sound like it's there, and we kind of have to figure out how to deal with it. I would almost say that it's more appropriate to develop some tools in your toolbox, so to speak, so that you can deal with and manage negative emotions. So I was talking with a client recently, and she was talking about how in her hot yoga practice that after a really, and I mean, it's hot, okay? Like it's a really hot, steamy, difficult environment to move around, and you're pouring sweat and you're tired and your legs are shaking and everything hurts, right? And those of you who don't do a yoga practice, you're like, oh, I thought yoga was just easy stretches. No, man, some yoga classes can be brutal. Anyway, so you're in this brutal yoga environment and you're sweating and you're tired. You sit on the mat and the instructor says, your towel's right beside you and your water's right beside you, but I don't want you to wipe yourself off. I don't want you to take a drink yet. I want you to sit in the uncomfortability and breathe. And I want you to feel that you can handle that. I want you to feel that you can manage that. I want you to feel that you can handle this negative feeling and you'll be okay. And then grab your water. That's a crazy practice, but there's something to that. I say that often about running up hills. I will run up hills on purpose so that it hurts. It gets all the way down into the part of me that wants to give up and wants to find comfort and wants to stop, and train myself to keep moving anyway. So if what's eating at you is a negative emotion, maybe instead of searching for a new supplement or searching for a better diet or trying to manage your macros really well, what you really need to be doing is developing positive ways to deal with those negative emotions. Things like conversations with a loved one. Don't knock it till you try it. It really matters to have somebody that cares about you listen to what's going on in your life, even if briefly. Maybe writing, maybe some time for prayer and meditation. Maybe you just need a long walk between you and the chocolate cake that you think is going to make you feel better, right? Or for me, one of my positive ways to deal with the negative emotions that was really, really important in my youth, I was a very, very angry young man, was exercise. I was really angry, so I'm going to go lift weights. And even now, sometimes I'm like, man, I need to go lift weights. So I don't say or do anything that I'll regret. So if what's eating at you is negative emotions, maybe instead of focusing on some changes you need to make from a dietary perspective, maybe you need to focus on developing some positive and powerful ways to deal with those negative emotions. And kind of like the yoga instructor, start with a breath and notice that being angry, being bored, being sad, being down, it's not going to take you out. You can be there and it'll be okay. So the other thing I wanted to talk about here, and we're going to address this tonight as well in our weight loss seminar, in terms of what's eating at you. 2 months ago, we did a trauma seminar, and I talked through how experiencing brutal, well, not just experiencing brutal things, but how brutal and traumatic memories can actually change the way our body responds to its environment right now, that we can carry those things within us. Now, this might be actually tied to this whole negative emotionality thing. There's a really interesting line of research that shows that people who score 7 or higher on the ACE scorecard, adverse childhood events, are 85% more likely to be obese than the average population. Let me put that in normal people terms. If you had traumatic childhood experiences, for some reason, that translates to having a harder time losing fat in adulthood. Like, if that doesn't blow your mind, it should blow your mind. You didn't hear me right, because it's crazy to think that something that happened 20 or 30 years ago can affect my ability now to maintain healthy weight for myself. For some individuals that I work with from a weight loss perspective, what's eating at them is a rough memory. Not just one, maybe multiple, maybe a whole bunch of them stacked on top of themselves, and maybe even more in adulthood, man. They're trauma after trauma after trauma, just carrying them around. And I know, like, It's weird that we say that, isn't it? It's weird that it's built right into the language. I'm carrying a heavy memory. I need to let go. It's like it shows up on the scale. How much do you weigh right now? Well, how much of what you weigh has to do with trauma that you're carrying around? Now, if you're listening to me right now, you're going to be going, that doesn't make any sense. How does that work? And we're not exactly sure. We are not exactly sure how trauma is related to how we process our food, how our body holds on to calories, whether or not we're really good at pulling calories out of food, where other people are a little more inefficient at pulling calories out of food. I don't know if you know that or not, but if I eat a piece of pizza and you eat a piece of pizza, if you're somebody who's really good at pulling calories out of food, then, well, you're going to get more calories out of that pizza than I am, even if it's the same piece of pizza. That's crazy too. We don't know how past trauma influences how our body processes food right now. We also don't know how past trauma influences our immune function. Like, what does my immune function have to do with my weight, Alex, or nutrition? Your immune function is related to how your gut works. It's also related to how you adapt to exercise. It's also related to how you recover from difficult stressors. So if your immune response is subpar, because there is unresolved trauma literally sitting in your body, then it definitely can impact your weight loss journey. And I find this is it's such a hard thing to help a client come to in the process of their journey, because it doesn't seem related to them. My difficult childhood, the time where I lost my family member and I haven't grieved them yet, the difficulty I've faced with bullies at work or whatever, bullies in school, bullies at work, bullies are everywhere, whatever, that all of those things can be something that's eating at you. And sure, it might be driving some emotional eating stuff, but it could also be driving some immune system differences, digestive differences. It could be driving quite a few epigenetic changes in the body that are making it hard for you to drop the weight you want to drop. And I'm looking forward to talking about that tonight, because this idea, this shortcast idea, what's eating at you, rather than just thinking about what you're eating, it really makes a difference. Ask yourself. Go look in the mirror, or if you don't like looking at yourself, write it down. What is eating at me? And answer it. Write down your answer to that. What is eating at you? You might be surprised at what comes out. And this is important, because what's eating at you can influence both what you're eating and how what you're eating is processed by your body. So, let's not be people who let things eat at us too long. Let's be people who figure out what's eating at us and put a stop to it so that we can move forward, and then we can worry about what we're eating. Guys, this has been Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Thank you so much for joining me for Nutrition Tip Tuesday. I hope you'll dive into what's eating at you and get a good head on your shoulders about what to do about it. And tonight, I'll rejoin you for our weight loss seminar at 7 p.m. Look for the links in the post that go out later today. Until tomorrow, which is Wednesday, it's just 1%. You got this.
Thank you for joining us for 1% Better today. Don't forget to subscribe for the podcast. Leave us a raving review to tell others how Better Daily has helped you in your journey. If you want more Better Daily, download our app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live. Use code POD to get 25% off your subscription. That's POD, all caps, to save 25% on your subscription. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.live today.